Hello, I am Scott Bryan. I'm a TV critic and broadcaster. Alongside me, who's already sat down, is Grace Dent, who is a novelist, columnist, author, broadcaster and restaurant critic, and TV critic beforehand. Starting with the normal traditional career overview, Grace is a restaurant critic for The Guardian.
Darling, I can't hear you. They can hear you.
Shall I move a bit forward?
They can hear me, but I can't hear you.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah,
Good.
I'm not going to sit actually on your knee. Who knows?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
No, this is very good. Now it's just like we're in a really rowdy pub. How funny. Right, okay.
Yeah.
I thought things were surreal, but they've just taken a new step. Okay.
Like I said, you just have to lean into it.
I'll go with it. Go on then.
Okay, so, right, I'm just giving you all...
I'm going to have a drink of Tanuki.
I'm a big fan of Tanuki. Big fan of whatever this water is. Yes, you've been a restaurant critic. You've also written about TV.
Yes.
You've had more than 11 books. You've also got a successful podcast on comfort eating, where you've interviewed the likes of Graham Norton, Stephen Fry, Nadia Hussain.
Yes.
And then you've also been appearing, of course, on MasterChef The Professional, Celebrity MasterChef, for a number of years now, but you've recently made the transition to hosting it, and you've been doing an absolutely fantastic job.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
So over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to cross over into talking about that.
Okay.
But I just want to sort of go from the beginning, really, because I think journalism, media, broadcasting is a very wide field. Did you plan your career to end up where you are now, or was it just one thing that happened after another?
Did I plan to be
where you are now?
Yeah, presenting MasterChef?
Yeah.
I think that if I'm very honest, yes. From when I was a very tiny girl watching television, I knew that I wanted one of those jobs like Paula Yates on the Tube, who seemed to have a job where she turned up on a show and she could be cheeky and funny and wear great dresses and good makeup and be in the epicenter of a really good show that people loved. And she also seemed to, there was a few women like that. Janet Street Porter was also important to me, Eve Pollard, these women that would pitch up on telly, and they seemed to do a little bit of everything in media. I like these women who, they had a column, but then they also put a book out, and then they also went on panel shows, and they had their own shows, and they had their own presence and made their own money, and then often moved into TV production, and when they didn't want to be in front of the camera, went behind the camera, ran TV channels, and I loved all that. So I think that always was my origin story as a villain would be like 7-8 years old, because watching Top of the Pops and watching the Kenny Everett television show and watching these kind of anything that was a bit anarchic, and thinking, because I lived in Carlisle, and none of my family were at all in media. I don't have an ancestor in the business like a lot of people, and I don't have anybody I didn't have anybody with connections to media, and I didn't have anybody with connections to academia even. Like, we weren't academics. None of the women in my family had careers. They definitely had jobs. I think there's maybe a bit of a difference. And I always say I was brought up the fledgling moments of how I started. I was brought up by pop culture. The exciting moments that cut through and made me go from about the age of 8. I am getting on that train to Euston as fast as I can and going there, was through television. It was through, especially, I always hark to Top of the Pops, but that's 7 o'clock, 7:30, BBC One, Thursday night, and that flash of freedom, and thinking, God, there's a world out there. I can go to London and hopefully snog John Taylor from Duran Duran.
I mean, what an aspiration. That was exactly the same aspiration that I had growing up as well.
It's the dream we all dreamt. But
so what was the next step? What was, when you thought, I really want to be involved in this world, how did you start?
Well, I suppose the next step, like most people then, if you were working class and didn't have anybody in the business, was just people saying, you're absolutely insane. Well, they wouldn't even say that. They'd just say, kind of, shut up, you're talking nonsense. Did I stick in? I'd love to tell you that I stuck in at school. No, I don't think I did that either. I think I winged it at school. passed some A-levels, scraped into somewhere, got there, and from the moment I got there, started trying to write for different newspapers and magazines. I suppose I must have been fairly focused, because I do remember along the way losing, not people dying, but losing lots of my friends who dropped out, but me being the person that was like, no, I need to stay on this horse. I was doing English literature and started winning competitions for writing, and then just got to London as soon as I could, and like, sorry, am I being boring? I feel like I'm just beside you at dinner party, rattling through my life. And then went to Marie Claire. The first thing was I went to Marie Claire magazine.
And what was the first thing you wrote there?
Oh God, it was a really boring piece about Prozac use amongst successful young women. It was about antidepressant misuse amongst successful young women. I mean, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but it got me through the door, and I was never interested in writing anything remotely serious, but it got me in there, and then I stayed, and I went freelance quite quickly, to be honest, because I'm quite feral, and I was feral in the 90s, and office politics was never, I mean, I had my merriment with it, but I was always quite a bit of a subversive element in any magazine house you let me into, so I went freelance quite quickly.
How did you find your voice? Was it always innate in you, or do you think it came about naturally in terms of...
I think my voice definitely started coming together in uni, when I was writing for uni papers, because at that point you don't give a hoot about media, about legality, about anything. I was such an idiot. You're just a child, and you just think, well, I'll just say whatever I want, and then the letters begun arriving from solicitors, and you're like, oh, actually, that's quite... So I think I found my voice there, and then I think I really began to lean into a voice, though, when I was commissioned by the Guardian Guide. Do you remember the Guardian Guide?
Yeah, the little thing, yeah.
And there was me and Charlie Brooker, and we were both like just kids, really, and we were both working at the Guardian Guide, and he's writing, what was he writing, Screen Wipe?
Yeah, because he did TV, Screen Burn, I think, is the column, TV. And then he did Screen Wipe as a TV show.
And Screen Burn was the column.
It was like a very niche pub quiz we're now taking part in.
Oh, it's really strange, and I was doing World of Lather, which was about soaps.
Are you a soap viewer? I mean, I take it you were if you were.
I was a soap viewer then. I try not to dabble now, because I find that it zaps so much of your time. But and I did it for so many years. God, it sounds like I've quit drugs, doesn't it? I'm trying to get. I'm not doing as many EastEnders as I used to. But I mean, I've still got But so I think that it was then that I began to realise that there was a place for me to just be exactly as I am, pretty much unfiltered, you know, and a base began to grow then, especially through my Guardian stuff. So yeah, that was when I found my voice then, and yeah, I mean, I can only really be me. Whenever anybody tried to get me to write, you know, that piece about something serious, I just can't. The most serious thing I do in my life is my restaurant.
Yeah.
Criticism, because I have to get the actual dishes correct and the name of the chef correct, and I find that a struggle, you know. I often want to kind of go off on a bit of a purple prose about that, and I'm like, no, just try and stick to the facts.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you about next, because you wrote a lot about TV and did TV criticism, and of course I've got a vested interest, me writing about TV now.
Yeah.
But then you made that crossover to food. Was that an opportunity that you were offered, or were you keen to go into food because it had always been a part of you?
When I started to hang around magazine and newspaper houses, I always wanted the restaurant critic job, just because it's an absolute... I mean, who wouldn't? You know, like, I'd see these men right, what can I say here, Grace? I would see who had the job.
Yeah.
And I would think, I want that job. And clearly you have to wait till someone's died to get the job. And clearly, or whatever's happened to them. And then you have to run as fast as you can to the source of the job and take it. And that's probably going to be within 45 seconds, and it's still going to be somebody's ancestor, right? And I thought, I'm never going to get it. So it was always like a little bit of a dream. I loved people like Michael Winner when he wrote Winner's Dinners.
Oh yeah, Sunday Times, yeah.
And not like I had a great fondness for him, but I kind of like the appointment reading of it. I love the idea of. I always firmly believe that with my writing on restaurants, I don't think that anybody that regularly reads my column every Saturday goes to 95% of the restaurants that I write about. I don't think that they put them all in a file and tick them off. I think that most of it is just living vicariously through the columnist and having that lovely appointment every day where you can, on a Saturday, you can have 5 minutes in a bathroom hiding from your own children going, what has Grace done this week? And that meant a lot to me as a child. And as a teenager, reading Sky magazine when Karen Krasanovich had a sex column, and that appointment reading is very important to me. So that was what I wanted to do with restaurant criticism. And also, obviously, I loved food and I loved restaurants. I always say with restaurants, at one point I was into pubbing and clubbing when I was young, and I loved nightclubs. And then as that waned, I realized that restaurants was a much more powerful force and always different and always exciting, and a bit like the magic faraway tree with Enid Blyton, and ever changing, and you never know what you're going to get.
So I'm just intrigued about the transition from clubbing. Is it like the buzz? Is it the unpredictability?
Yes, and you never know what's going to be there. You never know what clique are going to be in there, and you never know how it's going to turn out. And that's what I love about restaurants. I love food. I can talk about food all day and break down all the different cuisines for you, but I often find the actual bit where I describe the food the least interesting part of my job. The lamb cutlets were delicious. And I sometimes make the description of the food smaller and smaller, and because what I love is more like the theatre, the ambience, the service, the front of house. But anyway, how did I make the transition? One day I was working for, I was freelance, exactly, you're freelance.
Yeah.
Freelance, it was about 2011, and I'd been doing a bit of stuff for the Evening Standard magazine. Does that still exist?
No.
Does any of it still exist?
Yeah, a weekly thing, London Standard, but no, they do. I love it how I know this is such niche knowledge. They do have a restaurant critic in the weekly Evening Standards. That's not called that anymore.
So that's David Ellis.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd been doing a bit of work for the ES magazine as a freelancer, and I'd written a few pieces, but I wasn't a regular face there. And then they asked Lily Allen to guest edit.
Okay.
One with complete chance. And I was not a friend of Lily at all. I was not a friend. But I knew that she liked my stuff because she was going out with a guy at that point who I kind of knew a tiny bit. So I had heard that they read my stuff in The Guardian.
Yeah.
And she was asked to guest edit a magazine, the ES magazine, 1 week. And I think they just said, look, Lily, have you got any names of people you would like to write? And I think she said, Grace Dent. And I wrote a piece on the exact week that their restaurant critic quit. So it was literally, they were kind of editing one of my pieces that I'd written as a guest edit for Lily's magazine, and just at the point where their restaurant critic quit. So they got in touch with me and said, we really like this piece that you've written slagging off hipster cafes, because it was a piece about how they're never bloody open, and they don't upset loads.
True, though.
It's true. Don't start me. It's like I feel I can talk about. Anyway, I'd written, and they got in touch and said, our restaurant critic has quit because they were I can say who it was. It was Miles Jupp. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the broadcaster, yeah.
Miles Jupp had taken on the role, and I can say this, I don't think Miles would be upset. I think that he did what a lot of people do when they get a restaurant column. They think the gates of heaven have opened and they've got the dream thing. And then they realise that they're going to have to write 52 of these columns a year.
Yeah.
And it never stops.
Yeah.
And in order to do these, you've got to be out all the time and on top of all of your other jobs that you're doing. And I think he just went, oh, have it back. And they were stuck. So they asked me. I'd never written a proper column about food. I'd written bits and pieces, but so I got the email and I thought, you will take this job out of my cold dead hands, right? I'm like, no, you are never having it back. And that was it. But when I took the job, I was doing lots and lots of other things, writing novels and making bits of. I was presented the culture show on and off, and did all kinds of things. And my dream was that I would do a little bit of food, but carry on with everything else. But then food just literally ate my life. It ate everything, and I started to appear on MasterChef quite quickly, and then that changed everything. And and here yada yada yada, and now I present MasterChef. So.
Which is a phenomenal transition. I'm sort of intrigued because, I mean, as a person who's done criticism in food and on TV, of course, are you able to switch off when food consumes all of your life and all of your work? And I know you do a comfort food podcast, which is about, it could be somebody like Russell T Davies having a pot noodle or whatever. But are you able to go, I'm now no longer restaurant critic Grace, I'm now just having food at home, putting something together Grace? Or is it always ticking away whenever you're out with friends at a restaurant, you're thinking, oh, what could I write about this? What could I think about this? I'm intrigued about the division.
I think like most, because I'm still freelance, I'm still my own company. So do you switch off?
No.
When was the last time you switched off? Have you ever experienced that?
Any TV show I watch, I'm thinking, who's made this? What could I write about it? Who can I approach about it?
I think there'll be a lot of people in this room here that can never switch off, and when they're seeing everything, when they see it, especially when you're in that industry where everything is a reflection of you. But with regards to food, can I ever switch off? No, it is very difficult because. When I go to any restaurant or any cafe or anything, there is an assumption from the moment I get there that I am, Darth Vader. You can't really, you could be just trying to have a scone in a garden centre, in a cafe in a garden centre, but there's a feeling of incredible tenseness, and it's a bit like being the Queen, and that you always think you just like there's always fresh toilet roll in the loo, and but the thing is, everything's, and people are scared and things are getting dropped, but it can be. I always, going back to Miles and people that give the job back, I always say that's the thing that'll take you under. It's the constant tenseness when you're walking into places, and it is. You can never moan about this job. It is like moaning about being Princess Margaret and it being far too hot in Mystique, You can't moan. You can't, but secretly, it can be very hard going, it'll ruin your health.
Because it's like, was it like 2,000 calories could be in a meal, for example?
Oh, much more than that. No, I mean, you can.
And you're, of course, having a spread of meals. If you're having something from the starter, from the main, adds up quite a bit.
The minute you start saying it, it's like, don't even bother moaning. It sounds ridiculous. I'm going away tomorrow, and it'll be like lunch, dinner, like just trying to consume tons of food and then trying to run it off in a gym, and your body belongs to the column in a way. And then you're also on HD TV, which requires you to, be in everybody's living rooms at all times, like all of your dimensions on display. So does that work?
I'll ask you about MasterChef in a moment. I'm intrigued, firstly, sort of finally, in terms of like writing a restaurant column. Are you literally there with a little notepad, keeping a note of?
No.
Because I'm just intrigued about how do you get from the experience you've had in the restaurant to then writing the column? Is it instantaneous or is it just mixed
I absolutely can't take a notepad with me anywhere because it makes people so suspicious so quickly, and so they're already suspicious that the moment I write anything down, it just sends them even further. So I've got a very good memory for what's going on. I take very rough photos of what I'm eating. I've got my own different ways of filing it. So, and what do? I would love to tell you that I write all of my columns way in advance. Batches of them, so I've got them all done and they're all filed with the editor. That's never happened to me. It's never happened to me in the last 25 years. I like that feeling as the deadline's going past. I like to leave it right up until the last moment and then get up at 5 a.m. and drink a pint of Gold Blend and then just stare into the abyss and then open a Word document and begin. And I often think that then it's a bit like a guttural shout then, it's really the truth, especially when you've got the Guardian going, where the hell is the column? You just and you will get the truth. And when I'm filming MasterChef, I often have to do one before I even get into the makeup chair at 7 in the morning. So
it's up about 4 a.m. to write a column of something that you maybe had the day earlier.
And I think that's like the journo bit in me. I don't find that difficult. I kind of feel alive when I'm doing that in a way. It takes me back to how I was before all of the silliness,
100%. I sort of describe it as like the feeling of going over the handlebars on a bike, like in that like squeaky bum time in the hour, 2 hours directly before you're having to file. But in a weird way, it's so, like you say, it's so truthful because you're just able to say the actual truth rather than superfluous language.
I think there'll be so many people in here that get addicted to that live. Anything that's live is like that. It's the addiction, the adrenaline of like, can we get it done? Radio is like that. It's thoroughly addictive. And then just run, is this the time? Is this the time we have dead air? Is this the time that they have to just get an enormous advert instead of my column? No, we'll get it done.
And then sort of MasterChef started about 10 years ago. How?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it's the passage of time, Grace.
MasterChef, no, I was going to say I thought MasterChef itself. Now, MasterChef itself has been going since the Lloyd Grossman days.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
40. Oh, my God, hello. I just keep seeing people I know from my past, just like I haven't... That just took me. Sorry. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
No. I was basically going to ask, like, how did the first MasterChef opportunity come about, and then how did that change?
The first MasterChef opportunity, it was. I suppose I'd just been in newspapers and magazines, and I think, if I'm honest, they would have been definitely looking for more women. It was very. Because the critics, the big beasts were all men, and I suppose they were quite delighted to see another woman being printed so much, and they asked me along, and I went once. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, and I did it once, and then I went back again, and I was still terrified. So I was scared for quite a long time.
What were you scared of?
All of it.
Just the lights and the camera and...
No, not that. I'd filmed a lot of television before then. It was the... I suppose... having to really think on the spot exactly how to describe the food and make sure that everything is right. Make sure that you've spotted it's the right pastry, the right type of patisserie cream, the right type of ganache, that you're criticizing and you don't want to make a fool of yourself or by getting it wrong, and you're with these people, these men that have done it for so long, and they're just so self-assured, and it was very, for me, quite nerve-wracking, and there was times I got booked and I didn't really want to go, but I made myself go back. I mean, I'm a firm believer in all parts of my life that when you get asked to do something, and if it hurts that much, you've got to go and do it. You've got to, if it's important to you, you have to fight through that, and you've got to think, if they don't, the minute I say no, who will they book instead? And we've all got our nemesis, and you all know, think about that nemesis, think about that nemesis who's just really crap but also really everywhere, and then just get up and put your pants on and go, right? I don't know if pants are important.
Was there also, I guess, being an outsider to food, then entering into the TV world of food, and did you find that you had to really absorb a lot of knowledge in terms of them being able to give a critique in this environment that's not within a restaurant? Judging people's individual creations.
I've had to absorb a lot of knowledge.
So it's a very complicated question.
Yeah. I like the question. I don't understand it.
No, do I?
Had lots of different doors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just intrigued by, like, if you're judging filo pastry, if you're judging ganache.
Yes.
And you're learning about their techniques, and it might be. I mean, I have my own favourite food, and it's maybe beyond the normal repertoire. Did you find it a bit of an uphill challenge to learn about all of these different cuisines?
Right, I see what you're saying. It definitely helps that I have been doing it on television for so long with regards to critiquing. Was it an uphill challenge? You're constantly learning. I'm still constantly learning. All of the stuff that I had to brush up on really quickly. The first time I went in 2013, 2012, whatever it was, and somebody brought in millefeuille pastry, and I saw it on the page, and I was millefeuille. How am I saying this right? Why is it called that? All of these little things I learned then, they're all stored, but then the next episode was a whole new load of things. The next episode, so you are learning, and now I'm here, and I've got all of that kind of encyclopedic knowledge, but it still throws me every time I walk onto set on MasterChef. We film so much. We film 13 hours a day, often, of me just, and hardly any of it gets used. Every time somebody makes a dish, whatever it is, they swing round and they'll film quite a lot, and I just break it down, what it all is, every single bit of it, and what could go wrong, and what I'm looking forward to, and what it should taste like, and what is the provenance of the dish. It's really quite difficult because we now have people come in bringing food from all over the world. So, and I don't want to get anything wrong. For me, it's vital that I'm not insensitive and I don't get anything mispronounced. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but it feels like I feel like a computer that is constantly updating, But I'm proud of that. I'm really proud to be the presenter that's in charge now, that has like a thorough grounding of food from all over the world. And I love the fact that when the contestants come in, they doubt me a little bit, and then they go, hang on a minute, actually you do know all about this food from, whatever part of Africa it is or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I do, because even if I didn't, I would get that recipe at 5 o'clock in the morning and I will research it. So,
How do you balance your own personal tastes versus making a critique on food that might be food that you wouldn't normally like?
It is hard. I mean, if anybody's been watching the new season, there was a guy that came in on episode 1 and made pork 6 ways.
Yeah, because you're not that much of a meat eater.
I mean, I do eat meat, but I mean, pork is literally my least favourite, and I don't eat a lot of it out of choice. And even if I do, I eat tiny bits, and there's some things that still send me a little bit. And when I looked at the list, and it was kind of pork loin with a pork medallion with, what else did he have? I know that when I got to the end of the list, it said pork dripping jus, and I was like, oh, come on.
It's pork in the water whenever you're having a glass of water.
I said, Tony, it's pork 6 ways, and he went, oh, what can I tell you? I like pork, and with that, I was so repulsed by it, because it was Anna, my co-host on Amateurs. She said, he's really good, you've got to keep him. Again, with that, just get over it. So it can be difficult when someone makes, there was a guy, can I say this? Yeah, there was a guy who's just cooked sheep's testicles.
Yes.
Did you see it?
I did see that, yes. Oh. Your facial expression, by the way, I love it. It was, I think, everyone's facial expression watching it at home, in a way.
It was very real, because as I say, we film for so many hours a day. It's very much is like reality television, because you don't know when the camera's on you. You know, it's you forget. You can try to be a personality, or what, you can try and have a persona, but they're going to get the real you. They're filming you all the time. And with that, I really thought that it was a one-shot. I thought it was on my co-host. And when he started swirling the testicles around in the pan, in the butter, they started to give off this smell. And I could just feel like my eyes starting to go like a little bit back in my head. And I thought, I'm going to be sick. And then I didn't know it had gone into the show until Wednesday, when I started seeing the memes.
Oh, is that really?
There's all these photos of my face contorted. But again, I did keep that man in. So there, the answer to the question is, sometimes you have to put your revulsion about stewed testicles to the side. And
this is the only panel that will be talking about such a subject matter.
And I think we should move on. But yeah, it was a very good example.
But I think, I mean, since you've taken over the role, like, what's the... Because you have been in the show for some time, but of course you've clearly been elevated. I'm sort of intrigued by, like, what's been the biggest sort of lesson you've learned, or the greatest experience you've had so far from...
The lessons I've learned, that I don't enjoy sending people home.
I guess it's hard if you're seeing them from the very beginning, and if you're filming 12 hours a day, you're seeing them make so much, and then maybe they fall over at the final hurdle, or missing a key ingredient.
I've been involved with the show for so long, and my role was always to critique and then leave, and the hosts made the decision. And I spent so many years going, oh, they've got a tough job on their hands, but there's my ad lib, bye, you know, and I didn't have to get rid of them. And so that's one thing I've learned about myself. But I don't want to lose that, in a sense, though, because I think it's representative of how much I get involved with the show. I think that some presenters turn up and read their auto cue and go, and that's absolutely fine. That's bloody brilliant if you can do that. But with me, I'm very involved with the show as it moves on, and especially with amateurs. You've got 48 contestants at the beginning, and when there's 48 of them, it's a little bit easier, because some of them come in and they are kind of a bit of a personality hire, and they mess up really quickly, and you can kind of ping them off, and it's a bit sad to see them go. By the time you've got to 12, it's hard, really hard. Any of them can win. They've all started to think about the life outside and after the show. They've all got ideas for cookbooks. They've all got ideas for restaurants, and they're giving everything, and I find that hard. I've learned lots and lots of different things since taking on a prime time television show. I feel like every single day I'm learning about, you know, there's like, I live by that phrase, like, new levels, new devils. Every time you get to that new level, there's like a new set of, oh, I wasn't expecting that person to do that, and that person to behave like that, and oh, okay. Well, we were talking about this before we came on. That's what's so addictive, but it's hard. It's very hard.
I guess, do you watch MasterChef back, or do you treat the end product as... Because I remember, like, with stuff I've written, I shove it in a box, try not to look at it too much. I sort of try to push stuff behind me rather than look forward. I'm always intrigued about how other critics view their work when it's out in the open.
I think it's really valuable to look at it, and I know that I should. Whenever I do, I'm really glad I did. If I get in the back of the car now to go home and watch it on my phone, I will immediately see that if I'd stood a little bit more like that, the profile would have looked better, and I wish that I'd said A, B, and C. But I also find it kind of excruciating. It's excruciating. It's like watching... One of the lovely things is when you're involved with a television show, and I wonder if people agree, it's, you know, you get so swept up in it, and you're like this little team, and you're a band of brothers, and it's so lovely to look back on the show, because it's like looking at your holiday photos or something. You go, oh, I remember that day, and so there's that lovely bit about it. but with it also comes a bit of, oh, why did I think that dress went with those shoes? And why, oh my God, like, oh. So, yeah, some people love it. Some people kind of really sit down and analyze it. You know, maybe I'll get there one day. Sometimes it really sends you, though. I think that as presenters, it can really send you. You can kind of suddenly look at yourself and see yourself doing something and go, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that again, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. We had a question in from Slido, which you can send in. I think one question is about how the media's changed so much in the last few years.
Yeah.
And of course, the traditional paths are being eroded. In terms of, like, you know, the opportunity you had with Marie Claire back then, maybe still there, but
you know, I think that might be one of the only. Well, is it still there? Magazines aren't as important.
I'm sort of intrigued by, like, what would you say to somebody else who's keen on following a similar thing in the same way of them watching Top of the Pops when they were younger and wanting to be involved in the culture?
I mean, it would depend what they actually wanted to do. If I could drill down on that, if somebody wanted. Do they want to be a presenter? This is the thing, if they wanted to be a TV presenter, the way I feel right now, do you think, I don't know whether I would recommend people to do that, but...
I normally find that people will anyway.
Back in the room. Okay. Look, they always need good people everywhere. Every TV, I'm working for Shine in Birmingham right now, in Digbeth, and we constantly need good people everywhere I go. If you are good and diligent, it's very easy. I always think, this is about work, this isn't about how you bloody support yourself when you're doing it. That's a whole big other topic I could talk about all day. But I do think that there is an enormous truth that carries through, that in all companies they have 1,000 interns a year. But then a few that when they come in, you just, from the day one, you're like, please never leave. Please never leave. How long are you here for? And I do think that route is still available. So I always think, get yourself into places by hook or by crook, and then just be very into it and not a weirdo. That's always a big one. Not a weirdo. And diligent and into it. But, you know, there's a whole other topic now about how you actually do that, and with regards to money. And I don't have answers for that, really. I really don't. I don't know, where do you go and stay? I think you have to be very resourceful. I mean, back in the day, you just came down to London and stayed in all kinds of strange places because...
But that was, I guess there's also a balance now, because I find that there are new opportunities, and let's say on TikTok, in terms of building a notoriety. There's been the rise of, like, food critics on there.
I mean, there is an argument. Why would you? It depends what you want to do. If you were a young chef, or you wanted to move into being a restaurant critic, or whatever this is. I mean, if I was doing this again now, I wouldn't have the yearning to go towards terrestrial TV. I would want to do it all on the internet, and I would want to do it and control my own thing and run my own business. That's how I think I would do it. I think for me, light entertainment has always been the beacon, because I grew up amongst it, and it's still very important to me and very important to Gen X and older and late millennials. But, like, I do wonder why younger people would kind of say, I don't know if they're out there going, you know where I want to be? Master Chef. I don't know if they're feeling like that, you know, the young kids. I think that all these things can work together, though, definitely.
Oh, I think they do. I think
they absolutely do, yeah.
And then also, I mean, I'm intrigued in terms of, you also do comfort eating as the podcast. We've also been doing really well. I'm sort of been really intrigued by the idea of that, because you record a lot of the episodes within your own home, in their home, and it's all about the intimacy that
was a rod for my own back that I made. I was like, why doesn't everyone just come to my house? And it was just this tiny little kind of homespun thing, and we might have a celebrity now and again, and then it just turned into this, like, enormous juggernaut of a podcast, and before I know it, like Miriam, what's she called? Miriam
Margleys?
Yeah. Before you know it, Miriam Margleys is farting in your front room, you know? And it's like... and like, you know, someone open a window. And you've got you've got to make all the video there, and you've got a whole crew. So yeah, I do it in my house, but I always say every season, no more doing it in my house. But it would lose its thing. It would lose it. There's something very disarming to guests when you do it in your own house, though, because you open the front door, they walk up the path, and it is me. And I'm like, I'll come in and sit at my dinner table, and I think you get a different interview out of them than if you're doing it in a recording studio in Soho.
And I think you can also tell a lot about a person through the food that they eat or the way that they apply for eating snacks late at night.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I think to me the whole point of the show was the food that we eat in secret when no one else is looking, and what it actually... I suppose that was the basic premise of the show. What I find is it just opens up a celebrity interview that you would never have got normally. Because if you say to somebody, you know, I always say that when you are interviewing a celebrity, often the most exciting thing they say in the entire interview is that moment at the beginning when the sound guy puts a mic on them and says, "What did you have for breakfast?" And that is the moment where they just suddenly casually say 3 cream eggs, and you're like, hang on a minute, 3 cream eggs? And that's the most interesting thing. It's like, why would you have 3? Where did you keep them in the fridge? And before you know it, you've got some anecdote about them being at school, and they always had one at school, and they were bullied at school, and their mum used to buy them one, and you'll get this beautiful anecdote. And then you have to actually do the interview, and that's when they clam up, and they don't say anything. So for me, comfort eating was the best bit that the sound guy normally got out of the person, but made into a podcast.
I'm so gutted that I didn't hear what they asked you in terms of what you ate this morning when they were miking you up when we were outside there.
Oh, no, they did. He did.
Oh, yeah, really?
When he was miking me up, he said, "What did you have for breakfast?"
And what did you have for breakfast?
I said, a caramel wafer. So it was absolutely delicious. I was like, breakfast of champions, a can of Diet Coke and a Tunnocks caramel wafer.
As a final question, we had this in regards to... because you were talking earlier about Would I Lie to You and doing something that's out of your comfort zone, and you were talking for, I think, one theme that's picked up from this conversation is going out of your comfort zone. Is there any other form of media or presenting that you really want to do next, or something that you've...
I think that, I did Would I Lie to You last night, and I was saying how, panel shows can be... You put them in the diary, and then they kind of sit in the back of your head going, oh, God, I've got to go and be really funny beside Lee Mark. And it really, it's hard, it takes you under a little bit. And it was a very lovely experience. And I said it was with Ben Elton, and it was just a magical moment. And I think that I want to do more things where I can be funny. And I would like to not just do like entertainment that's about food. I'm a big cat rescuer. I love animals, I love fashion, and I love Gen X stuff. I love music, I love electro pop, and I just want to do all of the stuff that was rooted in me from being a kid in front of Top of the Pops when I was a little girl. So but that's where I plan to go, and I plan to do that on all different types of forums. Look, I will drop dead against my laptop. Right, that's it. I'm never going to retire. I'm never going away. I'm literally, one day, I will just go, that's it, and they'll go, Grace Dent, who died today.
Well, what a note to end on. Thank you so much, Grace Dent, for our chat today. Thank you. Thank you, Vivienne. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.